This is it. This is where it all began on February 4th, 1999. Okay, technically it isn't where it all began for physical Yu-Gi-Oh cards. A year earlier there was the Bandai cards, and if we really want to be honest, for Konami's version of the card game, that started in December of 1998 with the Game Boy title. But this is where it actually begins. The first 40 cards of Konami's OCG in Volume 1. Yeah, for the younger generation, we don't get the cool names until OCG Series 2, or 1 year from now. So, for the entirety of 99 and the beginning of 2000, we have these. But, we're getting off topic here because we have a very long, and I mean long journey ahead. But every journey must begin with a small step. And these are the original 40 cards of Volume 1. The first card we'll be talking about is the Hitotsume Giant, or as it's known in Japan, Cyclops. With its 1200 attack and 1000 defense, this one-eyed behemoth has powerful arms made for delivering punishing blows. Despite the fact in the anime both times that it's used it was killed immediately, though considering the power of this set, I guess it's sort of right since it's one of the stronger monsters out of the set. Yes, that's how low we are starting. Not even 1500, 1550 is the height in the first set. It's a whopping 1200. Though that's just for the ones that you can just summon without waiting to make a tribute. But there's also the junior rules, and god, this game started out so complicated with the rules. But it's time we get to the almighty, the all-powerful Dark Magician. Or Black Magician as it's known in Japan. What? You thought the Blue Eyes White Dragon was what I was going to be talking about, since it's on the cover of the set? Oh, you poor fool. It's still a bit before we get to the point where the cover monster is actually in the set itself. But yes, here he is. The original protagonist's ace monster that all aces would follow in the years to come of 2500 attack points, and to prove superiority against other protag monsters, it has 21,000 defense compared to the 2,000 defense of his peers. The ultimate wizard in terms of offense and defense. In this set, because there are definitely stronger monsters in terms of attack and defense that are spellcasters. Though if we're talking in terms of meta, there's Pendulum Magicians, the Dogmaticas, and I guess we'll leave it at that. Let's let him believe that he is the strongest spellcaster of this set. Sorry, pal, but I guess in that one Duel Links commercial, you were also the strongest since he could summon you with no monsters like Cyber Dragon. I guess that's cool for you. Moving on from Yugi's Ace level 7 monster, we have his lesser level 7 monster, Gaia the Fierce Knight, or just Darkness Knight. 200 attack less than a Dark Magician at 2300 attack and 21,000 defense, and I guess maybe this could be less egregious, but since both cards are the same rarity, it just meant that if you got this, you were super unlucky with the Knight and his horde to travel at speeds faster than wind. But I guess his battle charge is a force to be reckoned with. Then against a Dark Magician, it's clearly something to be reckoned with, since it just needs to use its Dark Magic attack, but yeah, we'll get to that. Though this won't be the last we see of these two. I mean, of course, this won't be the last we see of them. As we know, any card that appeared in Duel Monsters or any of the animes must have a fully fleshed out archetype that's probably meta, but in reality not. Yeah, we'll be getting to you. For the remainder of the normal summonable peaks of power in this set, we have the Mammoth Graveyard. A 12,000 attack dinosaur protecting the grave of his friends by attacking grave robbers mercilessly. If that fails, they can transform into an arrow to weaken you. Sadly, that card does not exist at the time of this recording. God, early Yu-Gi-Oh! Was just so weird. Yeah, that it wasn't a fully realized card game and just Kazuki Takahashi was just making stuff up on the go. Wild stuff. But that and the Hitotsume pale in comparison to the Silver Fang, or Fang in Japan. It's an O instead of an A, don't ask me. Which, according to definitions I found, is a thin strip of rawhide used by saddlers for selling. So in Japan, this wolf and its species is hunted for its beautiful silver fur. Even its ferocious personality can't keep them from being hunted. We will get to why, despite having less defense than the Cyclops, why this was the best normal summonable monster when we get to the magic cards. And I will be calling them magic cards for the time being since, well, that's what they are. They're not spell cards because we haven't had that lawsuit. But yeah, we have seen the peak of Volume 1's monster power. No, we'll get to the best card in this set. Now it's time for a whole bunch of pack filler. Now, can you really call this pack filler? I mean, maybe by today's standards it seems like pack filler, but this was tentatively all that there was. First up is the Curtain of the Dark Ones, or Curtain of the Black Magic Tribe. This curtain made by spellcasters is said to raise their power, which makes you wonder why this is a spell card and not an equip card that raises spellcasters by 600 attack points and maybe defense points. Yes, I know that exists, but we'll be getting to that in a minute, or couple minutes. After that, we have the Tomosaurus. This lost Cannibosaurus is small but vicious and even attacks its own. Though at this moment, I don't think its measly 500 attack will allow it to eat too many things. Let's keep a record of how many dinos or just any monsters in particular this Cannibosaurus can eat without help, since it's not going to get any help. Now we see the Dark Gray, a beast entirely gray, unseen by mortal eyes. I'd call it more blue-gray than normal gray. This is a gray. That's not gray. This is also the first monster that has higher defense than an attack. So it probably is worth setting in defense position, since the majority of monsters in this set aren't 900 attackers. Yes, there's the free 12k beaters and Yugi's aces, but you're likely not going to see them as much, even if you're running 9 each. And if you're going back and playing this traditionally without junior rules, you're not going to want to run like free dark magicians and free guys. That's just something. Next up, we have Nemerico, this sleeping child that can put you into an eternal sleep if you are not careful. Hey, do you think that can happen to me? I don't think my attack bites are too high than this sleeping child. They'll probably give me the best sleep I've had in a while. Fiend's Hand, or the Arms of the Dead, would reach out of the Swamp of Chaos to drag down the damned. No, you'd think that with the amount of power the dead can have, they would be more powerful than most of the monsters we have seen up to this point. But no, at most it can only really pull down the Cannibosaurus, which has yet to really attack anything. And so, yep. Sorry, buddy. We move on from Fiends to the Devil. The Fire Devil, or Fire Reaper for us Americans, because children's card games. Yeah, you gotta realize that American children are nowhere near as cool as Japanese children. You get villains more or less asking for Satan's help, and angels and tits, and we get none of that. Ugh, disappointing. Anyway, the God of Death will turn you into a fireball just by a shot of the arrow. God of Death. God of Death. At 700 attack, it's easily the most common of the power of most monsters in this set, 800 being the next best thing to other monsters. I guess that makes the English translation slightly less overselling just as a Reaper. Those things are a dime a dozen with how many people go to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, no death, just Shadow Realm. Yep, no one dies in this series. And just to show how disappointing this Fire Devil is we have something that's just as strong and also wields fire. Firegrass. This briar-breathing plant can be found near volcanoes. Definitely less work than calling on the Fire Devil to burn the Cannibosaurus. No reason to give up your soul to a plant unless this plant is also secretly a monster. Now I know we've made enough fun of the Fire Devil, and yes, I will be calling it for the rest of time because it sounds a lot cooler. But hey, there's a monster it can take down. The Eye Armor, or Vulpix. Okay, real talk, I have no idea what a Copics is. I thought maybe looking at Japanese text might offer something, but both describe a warrior that can transform into various people and fights by deceiving its foes. So wouldn't that be a changeling? I guess maybe changeling was trademarked so they couldn't, but who the hell knows what a Copics is? I don't. Do you know? Comment below if you want us to know what a Copics is. Next up, we have an angry cloud named Lala Leon. You say that to someone new to this franchise and they would think it's a beast-type monster. But nope, it's the first thunder monster we're talking about. That rather than attacking you with lightning, it uses acid rain. I mean, I guess it's also threatening, but, you know, lightning. Lightning is a lot scarier. Wait. Really? People actually survive lightning? Huh. Well, use that acid rain to kill, Cannibalosaurus. Still our weakest monster. And that is not changing anytime soon with the Petite Dragon, which, despite its small size, can be quite vicious in its attack. What? You don't see it? It's just like Scarface. You attack it once and it becomes a vicious monster. Oh, I'm not gonna show you. What do you think, I'm crazy? No one attacks a Scarface unless they do it by accident. Now, this is another card that does have different vanilla attacks rather than being visage. It's just the Terminator putting everything into its attack. Moving on. Oh my god. Could it be? Have we found something that the Cannibalosaurus can cannibalize? Well, I guess not cannibalize because it's not a dinosaur, but... I mean, it has to be an attack position, but... It is! Here we are! The Demon Beaver! Or as we would come to know it here in the TCG, the Archfiend Marmot of Nefariousness. So, what is it, a marmot or a beaver? Maybe a beavet? Anyway, the Marver has devil horns and wings and attacks you by throwing an acorn. God, could you imagine this was used in the anime by anyone like Yugi, Joey, okay, maybe Mokuba? But saying, attack directly with your projectile nut attack! After that, we had the Petite Angel. What do you mean it's not an angel? It's... Oh, sorry. This is from the American side of the shore, since we can't show anything religious, so it's just a flying ball of cuteness that's just really hard to hit. So I guess the Petite Angel more or less counterattacks by having the opponent slap themselves, and that's how they lose life point. But, you know, none of the monsters up to this point can potentially stand against the Dark Killer. Or Wing Cleaver. God, Japan got the cooler names compared to... That's what... Why is it that we are so much lamer than them when it came to stuff like this? This monster is one few can withstand with the power of its scythe-like arms. Yep, they are really trying to sell it to us. 700, as in most everything. And this did not come out in the TCG physically until 2019. When literally the only people who would use this is if they're collecting every card in existence. Whoopee. Thunder Kid, or kids. So I guess it's just one Thunder Kid and they couldn't draw the siblings for some reason. These little tanks store electricity in their bodies and unleash the devastating effect when you make them cry. Though as a kid, it's like a small lightning strike rather than getting a heavy lightning strike, though apparently it doesn't kill you. I guess the most notable thing besides getting a recolored retrain effect monster is that this little gremlin stole what should have been the Cyber Commando's position as Tristan's partner in that garbage capsule monster spin-off anime for kids had produced for them. Dick. Miyotoko, or Babylon, is... right. God, one of these cards that got the Joseph Wheeler treatment and have a thick Brooklyn accent. So follow through me as I put it through my translator to see what this can do. Here it is. one-eyed monster that shoots a deadly beam. Deadly on only couple of monsters. Next up is definitely an interesting one in terms of what will come later. Kagemusha the Blue Flame. This body double to the ruler of Blue Flames may not be on the surface like really much, but in Japan this card is known as Shien's body double. It's gonna be a bit before we actually get the 6 Samurais and by extension Shien, but this is one of the first examples of card and lore in the game. Also, I guess this is probably one of the more threatening monsters. It has a super sharp sword. Like there were other warriors. You cost 2 tributes and are outclassed by Dark Magician with a spellbook of secrets. You gotta wonder how wielding the legendary sword would do this guy, because it's a Western sword and not an Eastern sword. The Starnemone, or as it's known in Japan, the Hitodenchak, a starfish spitting acid that can melt just about anything. Or as I get to the translation, starfish go berserk due to contaminated water. Squeeze the solution out of your mouth. I just put this through a simple Google Translate to see what I get, and this is really the first time I've had, like, an issue with that. So I guess beware the solution when you're trying to get it out of your mouth. So remember earlier when the first card we talked about, first of these kind of pack filler monsters, there's the kind of dark one, how I said it sounded like an equipped monster for dark and/or spellcasters. Well, here's another one. A creature that grants life rather than cutting it short. So, are you an effect monster buffing the power of light and/or fairy monsters? I have a standard 700 attack. Okay, never mind. I forget we still have no effect monsters. Anywho, we now have the Haniwa, everyone's favorite Animal Crossing piece of furniture protecting the tombs of ancient kings. Okay, I guess this is mostly for the spirits of grave robbers. Probably get something made of sturdier material. The Dredek, is that how you pronounce it? I'm just gonna go with the first one. I honestly have no idea what a Dredek is. Looking it up is just giving me the wiki pages for the card. In Japan it has a much simpler title, Deathfoot, a monster with legs growing out of its eye. What do you mean growing out of its eye? Its entire body is an eye! That jumps high and attacks with a singular claw strike. Yeah, this is another one where the US tries to make it sound cooler by declaring it never misses. Yeah, it never misses because when it attacks, it's thrown away. Ugh, for God's sakes. The Candle of Fate. Everyone, decide your fate once the flame on the fingertip goes out. I know how it decides. Does it die when the flame goes out, or does the opponent stomp on it? Which I guess includes the Cannivosaurus, which, so far is only beating the Marmot. Oh right, I also forgot, tentatively this was also part of one of the first archetypes, because we have the Daemon Beaver Archfiend Marmot of Nefariousness, and we have the Daemon Mirror, or Archfiend Mirror. Reflecting attacks with its hypnotic mirror, so defensive monster. 700 attack. 600 defense. At this point, if it claims some kind of defensive matter, it really doesn't matter, because not counting the monster above 1,000, the best defense is 900 shared by Dark Grey and Petite Angel. It's not changing for our last 3 monsters. First among them is the Furious Scene King, capable of summoning tidal waves to drown his opponents. Which you would think having the ability to do something like that would make him the strongest monster of all, but no, it only really can drown anything that's weaker than it. Which is standard at this point. So is this the people who made the curtain all the way at the beginning, the Follower in the Dark, or the Sectarian of Secrets? Okay, I guess this is different. That was a red curtain with old frail hands, while this is a purple cloak. Either with or without a pentagram, and has the hands of the devil, according to the OCG. So the devil's hand is at most 700 attack points. Well, I guess the devil is actually kind of a weakling if all he has in one hand is just 700 attack points. And the final of the original Freddy monsters for Volume 1 is Kurama. Wait, the nine-tailed beast? No, it's a bird that is a drake in the OCG. A drake. A drake. I guess it could be called Drake as a pet name, but this vicious bird attacks from the sky with its whip-like tail, which is really not shown well in the arc tail. I guess it's coming in from the side and the blue line is meant to represent it. Other arts have done a better job showing it since we see the full monster, but the base card art is put in and puts more emphasis on the claws rather than that tail. I know I'm nitpicking a lot, but it's normal monsters. So, you want to know what makes a good normal monster at this point? How high is your attack or how big is your ass? Ass to protect your master from getting damaged. Which, spoiler alert, you're probably not going to see lots of these monsters in decks that they for some reason choose to start with Volume 1 for a progression series, which... Why would you do that to yourself? Start with Legend of Blue Eye. Start with Series 2 if you're wanting to do an OCG progression series. Don't make yourself suffer. With that, we have seen every monster in this set. Moving on to spells, we'll be grouping these next 5 spells. Sorry, they're magic cards still. I will probably decide whether I want to call them spells or magic cards by the time we get to Series 2. The Legendary Sword, Beast Fangs, Violet Crystal or just Amethyst, Book of Secret Arts, and the Power of Kaishin / Poseidon are 300 attack / defense increases for warriors, beasts, zombies, spellcasters, and aqua monsters respectively. Fairly simple, nothing special, not like there's a billion words of text that describe multiple effects you have to do, just one basic thing. And also kind of making those 5 specifically the superior monsters. Which does indeed make Cannabasaurus the worst monster of this set, since the only monster it beats, the stupid Marmot, gets the standard 700 attack with the Beast Fang, and the Cannabasaurus has... nothing. No equipped cards at this point. Granted, yes, there are other monsters in this set that don't have equipped cards, but it's really kind of disappointing that the Dino is the worst monster in the set, bar none. But enough talking about the worst card in this set, which... I guess you could put that on any monster that's not Hitotsumi Giant, Mammoth Graveyard, Silver Fang, Dark Magician, or Gaia the Fierce Knight, to moving on to the best card of the set. Dark Hole or Black Hole. Destroy all monsters on the field. Simple, concise, to the point with its purpose. Your opponent has a Dark Magician, Gaia, Beast Fang, and Powered Silver Fang. Slap this down and watches your opponent's hopes and dreams die of potentially beating you. Unless they also have their own Dark Hole for the crackback against your own. It's the first of cards that I would consider game changers, or game enders, depending on where you are at the game. This comes down, this could change the entire flow of the game at that moment. And it's come on and off the limited / ban list numerous times throughout its life. Though these next 2 cards are definitely not tide changers or game enders. Red Medicine and Sparks. Polar opposite cards. Red Medicine gives you 200 life points. Sparks takes away 200 life points from your opponent. Now, in the context of the modern game, yeah, like most of the cards in this set, these are not good. But again, remember, power caps out at 1200 attack, or 2500 if you're using junior rolls. Which, in junior rules, you can only set a spell or activate a trap a turn. Who the hell would use that in comparison to either the attack boost or just straight up nuking your monsters? I guess if you wanted to be funny and kill your opponents with Sparks, probably against a deck that runs a very high risk game or just runs very low in life points. Just imagine Yugi busting this out against Merrick. So I guess he would have the fusion to more or less ensure that he didn't die to Sparks, but still. The last magic card is kind of not the greatest at the moment, but still we'll still see some play later on after more monsters are released. Fisher pops 1 monster in the field, though it targets the lowest attack monster on the field. Yeah, if you hope to drop it on a Dark Magician, Gaia, or the 12k Trio, you better make sure that it's the lowest attack on the field, so you might slap this down after you've dealt with them, with the weaker monsters. But this card does definitely get better as more defenders become introduced into the game, and by extension, that's why you use this. And we finally reached the last card of Volume 1, and the only trap of the set that is Trap Hole. Okay, in Japan it's called Pitfall, so it's less on the nose as a trap. Standard effect, it's reactive, destroys any monster or flips summon monster with 1,000 or more attack on your opponent's side. A way to punish your opponent, they stupidly decide to sacrifice 2 monsters for 1 monsters. But again, junior rules, so doesn't matter yet, so it's just there. But that's it. That is all 40 cards from the original core set of Yu-Gi-Oh! It is beyond pretty. The most basic low-level Unga Bunga beats, where victory will likely decide on dark holes or even the random spark if things look bad. I guess also by junior rules, if you had the Dark Magician or the Guy of the Fierce Knight, it could also be a pretty big thing, but soon enough, the junior rules will be faded out, that Dark Magician and Guy of the Fierce Knight will only really show up in decks that want to be like the anime. Before we leave, it seems we have some singular cards from the first Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters National Tournament. Just competing got you probably the best reward from this, Kennen the Swords Mistress, or as it's known in Japan, the Woman Swordsman Cannon. Why not just say swordswoman? Why need to specify that it's a woman swordsman? Anyway, she clearly took lessons from Muhammad Ali, since her description states that with her sword and shield, she floats lightly and stings sharply. In Japan, they basically ripped the quote word for word, though. Instead of floats, it's dance to not get sued, I guess. I guess people could bring up how this was one of the first instances of power creep in the game, since we went from 1200 to 1400, but this is Volume 1. We are going to blaze through attack values quite quickly. Also, she went from having cones on her chest to no cones. Meanwhile, the winners of the event got some interesting cards. The winner of the event got a normal summonable version of the Chaos Soldier, or as we know him here in the West, the Blackluster Soldier, a monster with the same capabilities as the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Yep, Yugi's own personal Blue Eyes that needed a spell card to summon it, so it's worse than that. And this technically isn't legal, since I think there's only really one of these in existence. Meanwhile, second and fourth got other future ritual monsters. Zero the Mant and its claws alongside the Super War Lion, also known for really sharp claws. Guys, come on, it's 4 cards. This wasn't like a top 8 thing. And finally, the Fiend, or Devil's Mirror. A monster you would think would be a defender because mirror, but it's never attacker. Guess it draws you into its world to fight a stronger variant of you. That ends this. When we return for the next look back at cards for the card compendium, I'll come up with a title soon enough. We will be talking about Booster 1. Guys, are you sure you mean... No, it's Booster 1? Alright.